You stole all my lines.
Okay, that's perfect. Now, can we just do it again?
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm one of the co-founders of Second Nature. So I'm a massive health and nutrition geek. Originally, this started when I was 16. So I had cancer when I was 16. And I think that set me on a journey to really, I would say, obsess about science and biology. I think my personal motivation was, hey, I don't want to get cancer again. How do I live a healthier life? So I went and studied natural sciences at Cambridge. And while studying at university, just spent a lot of my time on nutrition, sleep, wellness, all that stuff. I think one of the really frustrating things I found was there's such little consensus of what a healthy diet looked like. This kind of followed me into the few years after university where I met Chris. But I would spend my weekends looking at science, nutrition, trying to work out, oh, how do you live a healthy life? And it was difficult because nutrition is such a controversial area. Working with Chris, we did a lot of work in diabetes, and I think this kind of married up the kind of personal obsession with nutrition and lifestyle with a massive societal problem, which is type 2 diabetes, and seemingly one that is solvable with the right habit change and nutrition changes. And then we started Second Nature 11 years ago. So that's, a quick background.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm one of the co-founders of Second Nature, along with Mike. So I'm also a huge health and nutrition geek. I then went to university, studied engineering, came out of that, and I started working actually in NHS England. And the thing that surprised me about the work that I was doing then was the NHS was facing this huge crisis of diabetes and obesity. Billions of pounds are spent on trying to treat these preventable diseases every single year. And I thought, that seems crazy. I think I can help. I really like building things, so I quit my day job in order to do something about it. Along that journey, I actually was speaking with an old colleague of mine, this guy called Mike. He didn't have a beard back then, and he had the same idea as me. And initially I thought he was trying to steal my ideas. But we decided instead to combine forces and try and tackle the UK's obesity epidemic.
Yeah, so why did we start Second Nature? So I think, so both Chris and I worked in consulting for our sins, but we actually just exclusively worked in healthcare consulting. So primarily for charities or pharmaceutical companies. And I think we both did a lot of work in type 2 diabetes. At least for me, it was sitting in these big stakeholder meetings where you'd have pharma, endocrinologists, patients, and on one hand, you'd have the pharmaceutical saying, hey, we want to sell a new insulin drug. And you'd have the doctor saying, hey, I think we need to work on habit change and lifestyle change because that's the real kind of solution to type 2 diabetes. And I think when you sit in enough of those meetings, you're like, maybe it would be good for us to try and do something about this. So I think that kind of big societal problem combined with Chris and I's obsession with health and nutrition, Chris being an engineer, and we'd worked together. So we knew that, a big part of companies failing is that the founders fall out. And we spent 2 years together, had a similar sense of humor, knew that we could work together. And I think all of that combined was like a great foundation for us starting Second Nature 11 years ago.
I think the thing for me that came out when we were working together, and the reason why I think I knew that we were going to work well together, is Mike has an almost impossible ability to hide how he really feels about something. Like, dude, you can't tell the pharma people that you really feel that way. But what it also meant was that I knew that I could probably trust him and that he was high integrity because he could see kind of strategy consulting for the farce that I also thought that it was. So it built a lot of trust. I also had to give him a lot of feedback on how to hide his facial expressions. But
the funny story was Chris was my first manager. So that was. Yes. How things have changed.
Or have they?
Exactly. I think the first iteration of our path, our path at the time, which evolved into Second Nature, I think it's actually very similar to like the foundations of today. So it was kind of the underpinning concept was education, support, and tracking, which I still think is true today. Obviously, I would say today is a lot better.
Do you remember the first prototype though? It was a WhatsApp group.
Oh yeah,
that's what we.
True. Yes.
That's the first thing we launched. Is that we put a bunch of people in a WhatsApp group together, and then you were their coach, hilariously,
yes.
and we sent them book in the post, and we sent them scales in the post, and then we used a WhatsApp group, and then there was kind of some magic there, right? Because the group were all talking and interacting about their food habits, and we were like, oh, there's kind of this odd mini social network thing going on there.
How does second nature work? So I think if you look at what we're trying to achieve with people, it's trying to empower people to be confident to make healthy lifestyle choices in a society where it's very difficult to be healthy. So if that's the goal, then what second nature is trying to achieve is like, well, how do we get people there? So it is a combination of education and support. So we've always had the feedback that we deliver education in a non-patronizing way. So actually helping people to understand why you should do X, Y, Z, and not just saying, do this, do that, and people not knowing why they should do things. So the education, I think, is a huge part, and then also just the support. So we have an amazing team of fully qualified dietitians and nutritionists. I do think we hire like the top 1% or top 0.1% in the UK of dietitians and nutritionists, and they're there to support people through their habit change. So if you have a question or about a concept or advice, then that's what your coach is there for. So really it's a combination of support, education, ultimately to give people the tools that they need to live a healthy life and hopefully be at a lower BMI.
One way that I like to explain second nature is that we're a headspace for weight loss. So while some programs will tell you what you should be eating and that you should cut out certain foods, instead we'll try and understand why you're eating in a certain way to begin with, so that you can change the kind of fundamental reasons why you might be eating unhealthily. It's much more about habit change. It's much more about psychology. And also we have a medically supported program for people that need a bit more help. And we find that people that go on that program, the medication is often giving people the headspace they need in order to focus on habits.
Yeah, I can give my opinion on why Second Nature is different from other weight loss companies. I do think, look, not to put me and Chris on a pedestal, but I do think I haven't seen too many other founders who are like truly obsessed with solving the problem and are truly obsessed with health, nutrition, science, and don't have any kind of preconceived notions. So like, we didn't come from a background where we've staked our career on a particular way of thinking. Our goal is let's challenge the science. Let's work out what does the current science say. Let's be data-led. Let's try and build an amazing product experience to solve a massive societal problem.
Yeah, I think something that has always been quite important to both of us is this kind of openness to new data. And so while our program, I mean, at one point, our program was keto, right? Because at the time there was a lot of data in 2015, 2016 that keto was the way forward. But then actually we learned that while keto gets great weight loss outcomes, it's actually quite difficult to sustain for various people. So we looked at that and we thought, yeah, okay, well, we're not dogmatic about keto. We don't really care about the end solution. We care about what are the best tools for helping people lose weight, and then putting that into an amazing product experience and shipping that. And I think that openness is probably what's defined our culture and has meant ultimately why maybe we are different to other people.
Yes, I agree. We really do take a holistic view on habit change and lifestyle change. So most apps, most other weight loss providers really just double down on thinking about nutrition, but nutrition is one aspect of quite a complicated web when it comes to losing weight and obesity. You can make the strong argument that actually you just help someone improve their sleep and they'll lose weight just because they wake up with more energy and fewer cravings. So I think if you're really trying to tackle habit change and lifestyle change for the long term, you need to focus on nutrition, exercise, sleep, and really psychology. So much of this is psychology. So our approach has always been, let's look at this with a holistic lens. Let's look at all aspects of lifestyle change, not just nutrition. And I think that's why from the published research that we have, based on our NHS work, we have way better weight loss outcomes. So weight loss is one of the outcomes, but really actually we're focusing on psychology, habit change, and not just nutrition.
The way I describe Second Nature's philosophy is we're kind of combining the most evidence-backed tools for helping people lose weight that's backed in some science and some objectivity, and then combining that with a delightful user experience. And you put those two things together, and that is basically what the Second Nature product is.
So yeah, I think the philosophy at Second Nature is applying a really critical and objective lens to the current science of nutrition. Nutritional and medical science is super controversial. It's very difficult to work out what to do. And also, what works for one person doesn't work for another. So I think what we're trying to do is like, let's be really critical on the science. Let's present that to people and say, and explain to them like what that data shows. And most importantly, let's not kind of criticize or say our way is the only way. Let's give people a range of options, and so they can form habits that stick for the long term. And for some people, that might be intermittent fasting. For some people, it won't be. And it's not being too dogmatic on one way or the other. But I think it's being really critical about the science, being open-minded, and trying to hire an amazing team to make a world-class product, an amazing experience, and ultimately the best coaches in the UK.